worst case, we've got a plot of land, we've paid 100 grand for it, it's an acre and it's in Surrey. It can only go up in value. It came back, no chance, not a cat and hell's chance of getting anything on the land. Whatever was going to be built there was going to be $1 million plus in terms of the actual GDV.
Hi, my name's Ant Lyons from Your Property Network magazine, and I'm here on this on-demand training with my good friend Mark Lloyd from Property Master Academy today. And he's going to be talking through, and I'm going to be asking all about one project that made what would be for many people a truly life-changing sum of money. So just from one deal, and we're going to talk through this in depth and look at how it happened, how it was financed, and any hiccups along the way. And it's probably different to some of the ones that you might read ordinarily in the pages of YPN. And we love a creative deal and something that's just a little bit different. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one today. So Mark, can you just give people a little bit of a background about you and what Property Master Academy do and how you help people, just so they've got a flavour of who you are and your background?
Yeah, sure. So hi, Ant. So I've been in business now for 33 years, I think it is. Had a number of different businesses during that time. I started investing in property in 2005, which was my very first property. That was overseas. Subsequently bought one in the UK as well. To be honest, didn't know what I was doing. Had no idea whatsoever. Finally got educated in 2009. I paid quite a lot of money. I mean, 35,000, 40,000 pounds back then. We're talking like 12, 13 years ago, to learn about property, because one of the things I've always done in business life is learn about the product, learn what I was trying to do. So I spent a lot of money getting educated, and I've built up quite a large portfolio, and also developments that I have in the pipeline now approaching 50 million. We started Property Master Academy, I think it's probably about 8 years ago now, might be slightly longer. I just wasn't any intention to start a training company, but it was just purely we had a lot of people following me and my business partner, Jackie, and asking lots of questions. And I decided, well, let's just put it into some kind of format that we can help people. And the most obvious format was mentoring, which is what we specialize in. And we've mentored quite a lot of investors over the years. We're not a huge training company. We're nothing like some of the other big names that you know in the marketplace. We've deliberately kept ourselves small because we believe very much in the personal touch rather than a huge room full of 50 to 100 people. We work with very, very small numbers each year, and when we limit it to that, we've never gone above that. And so yeah, we've kind of specialized in the mentoring aspect, and it's whether it's new investors, and we've even had some really, really experienced investors that have kind of, I don't know, got too comfortable and wanted a bit of a kick up the bum.
Well, actually, I think it's really important that that people are able to find somewhere out there if they've learnt how to do, let's say, student HMOs for a decade, but taking a step away from that into developments or development to sell or new build developments or converting commercial properties or even listed buildings, it's very, very different skill sets, and very easy to get it wrong and lose your shirt. Actually, unfortunately, property can be amazing. We can make, as we're going to talk through today, genuine life-changing sums of money, but it's also easy to get it wrong. And it is important that I think we have a safety net, another pair of eyes, an experienced pair of eyes on the deal with us. And I think that's where you come in and you kind of specialize, really. So
yeah, absolutely. And then just more latterly, over the past 18 months, 2 years, we started a crowdfunding platform with some international partners. So we're currently operational in 6 countries, including the UK. And we launched the UK back end of last year, so officially been going a year in terms of raising finance for property projects. So we just completed our first year. I think we've lent about 11 million in finance during that time. So that's been an exciting adventure as well. So a lot of people ask me why don't I retire? It's because I enjoy it too much. I think there's so many different things that I do that I think one in isolation I would be a little bit bored. So I keep myself busy, and I love the mentoring side of things. I think that's a fantastic way of giving back. But also, the property finance seemed to be a natural extension of what we were doing. So we started doing that as well. So it's kind of a, exciting times all around, I think.
Yeah, I think crowdfunding for property projects is an extremely exciting place to be. I've crowdfunded a couple of our deals, and actually watching the funds come in across 2 projects we raised £2 million. So watching the money come in from that after I'd sort of done a pitch was a tremendously exciting way. And for somebody who works in property, I'm not an enormous fan of the banks. I think they can change their criteria at any time and on a whim. So I love the fact that all of us can get involved in these amazing projects. So, okay, so the project that we're going to talk through today is, and in the pages of YPM magazine and in our app, you normally see kind of buy-to-lets and new build developments and conversion projects and HMOs and service accommodation, and all those kind of things. But this one's a little bit different because it actually didn't require any of the physical works on a property. So who doesn't like turning a profit without actually, I'm not going to say there was no work, because there was definitely work, but without those physical works. So this is what we would term, and if I use the incorrect terminology, please correct me, but a kind of a planning uplift. So buying a piece of land, obtaining planning on it, and then selling on for profit without developing oneself. So tell us about this. What was this thing when you learned about it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. So in the summer months, we don't really do much training or mentoring. We take a couple of months out, and it was just before I was going on holiday, and I thought I'd have a look for see if there's any opportunities out there. And most of the stuff I tend to deal with is generally off market, but for this time I thought I'll have a quick look on Rightmove and just see if there's any opportunities. And I was looking on the commercial side of Rightmove, because I think that's often where there's some distinct opportunities there that you can make decent margins on. And I found this plot of land, which was literally about 4, maybe 5 miles from where I lived. So I knew the area really, really well. But, and for those who don't know Surrey is an expensive county. This is an acre plot of land on the market for £50,000. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, what's wrong with this plot of land? There's got to be something wrong with this. So I drove down there, had a look, and it's just a plot of land. Trees, nothing on it. There was a house next door, a house across the road, and I thought, okay, this looks interesting. And I decided I would speak to a few other investors, developers that I know, for a little bit of input from them. And actually, one of my colleagues at the time, Paul, who's based in Scotland, he was down in the south at the time. And I said, look, Paul, do you mind just coming along this plot of land, having a look with me? So he said, yeah, we went and had a look, and he said, yeah, well, I think you might have some legs here. This is what, and we agreed a kind of a plan of action. And he was going to be part of the project initially with myself and Jackie, because my business partner Jackie is not only on the training, the mentoring company, but also in property as well. So most of the things we do are partnership. And so yeah, we decided that we would put an offer in, about 50 grand. If we got one house on there, right, that house would probably sell from something between 1 and 2 million, just to put it in perspective. So we're trying to think, what do we offer here? Obviously got something wrong. And when we looked at the planning history, what we'd seen was that there had been a house there in the 1960s, which had been demolished. And the owner of the land had gone back for planning to rebuild it, was granted. Then that still not built, went back and about 5 years later for different kind of planning. So this time to build 2 houses, that was refused. And so, okay, we thought, right, well, that's fine. So clearly it seems like we should be able to get one house on there. However, the argument that came back was actually, because it's been so long since there was a building on there, it may have turned back to Greenbelt. So I thought, okay, we'll put an offer in. If we get the land, what's the worst that can happen? We've got a plot of land, an acre of land in Surrey for the price we're going to pay. And actually, there was no logic to the way we calculated our price at all. I'll tell you how silly this was now when I look back at it. So we thought, okay, it's 50 grand. We'll double it. So we'll call it 100. And then we thought, right, we know there's a few other people looking at that. So if they're smart, they might think they do exactly the same just to try and shut people out. So we offered 105. That was it. There was no logic behind it whatsoever. So I put the offer in. Now it was by auction rules. That wasn't in auction. It was auction rules. So I had to put a sealed bid in by a certain time and had to be delivered to the agent's offices. So I drove over there. Now admin is not my strongest point. Okay, and I met at the reception desk there a joint venture partner of one of our mentees. And they were just putting an offer in on the same plot of land as well. So it's quite spooky. But she pointed out that I'd not filled out the envelope correctly with all the details that are supposed to go on the outside of the envelope. So it's thanks to her that we actually got this plot of land, because theirs was the next lowest bid, which is actually 75,000. So they bid 75,000. So we bid 105, and we were the highest bid. And the way I structured the bid was I actually did make it a conditional bid, although they said they wouldn't accept conditional bids. I actually said it was conditional, and they accepted it. And it was conditional basically on us carrying out more due diligence on the plot, because we hadn't had an awful lot of time. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to stick a pre-app in now. And I did that myself, didn't get any assistance. I just put a basic kind of pre-app in to see what the council's reaction was. So we still have time to pull out if we wanted to. Anyway, it came back, no chance, not a cat in hell's chance of getting anything on the land. So I'm thinking, right, okay, let me speak to some architects. And I met just two architects at the plot with Jackie. The first architect didn't instill any confidence in me whatsoever. It was, what we'll do is we'll put an application in, and if they don't like it there, we'll move it there, or we'll move it there, or we'll do it there. And he was going to charge, I don't know, I think it was about £2,500, £3,000, something like that. I just thought, fine. Then the second architect that came along, Mike, was a lot more confident. And the reason we chose these, by the way, just stepping back a little bit, and how we'd gone about selecting them, we'd gone onto the planning portal and looked for architects in the area that had been successful in getting planning. So, and these two had.
I mean, that is amazing sorry, just to stop you there, what an amazing top tip to find an architect that's likely to get you where you need to be with the planning side of things, because there, as you say, there are architects and architects.
Absolutely. And even here, even though the first one had got planning in the area, the second guy that came along showed us plots not too dissimilar to what we had, where he either had planning going through or just got planning. However, his fees were going to be around about 20 grand. Yeah, exactly. But we thought, you know what? We felt so comfortable with him that he knew what he was doing. And when more research we did, he was in the top 100 architects in the country, which we didn't know at the time. And all the successful projects he's had, and I'd spoken to other investors, developers in the area, and this one name kept popping up all the time. So we thought, right, we're going to stick with Mike. I said to him, look, we've had a negative pre-app come back. He says, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm thinking, okay, that's easy for you to say.
It's easy for you to say. You're not committing to these architects' fees and buying the piece of land.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit skeptical sometimes with architects, because they're not fully involved in the project always. They're just they're going to earn a fee, aren't they, whether they get planning or not. So I thought, okay, let's take a punt, because worst case, we've got a plot of land, we've paid 100 grand for it, it's an acre and it's in Surrey, it can only go up in value. And we kind of took the view that worst case, we'd hang on to it. We all thought, including Mike, that we'd get refused on first application, and we'd planned for this to go back a few times and finally going to appeal. So overall, including the costs with Mike, we spent about £135,000. Now we paid cash for this. We had cash in the bank that we paid cash for. But what we decided actually was that because we didn't know, there was too much uncertainty, it could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, who knows how long, we decided actually to bring some other partners in. Wasn't a lot of money, but we thought if we can reuse that money in another project, and get a return on it rather than having it just sit there on a plot of land, then that's what we prefer to do. And as it happened, we brought in, I think it was 3 or 4 of our mentees on the project, ones that were of higher risk profile and had already completed at least 12 to 18 months working with us. So we knew them very, very well, and their appetite. So that's what we did, and we split the plot between us 4 or 5 ways. Now, I couldn't believe the amount of surveys we had to get. It was just well, apart from the usual topographical stuff, that kind of thing for a site that you need to get. But obviously, we had also, I should have mentioned, there was a blanket tree preservation order on the entire site. So this site was just nothing but trees. So that was the first thing. So we got an arboriculturalist around to see what can we chop down. And luckily, there was quite a lot of saps there. And because the tree preservation order dated back to, I think it was 1975, anything pre that we couldn't touch, anything post that was fine. And he gave us a basic rule of thumb that if we could put our arms around the tree, we can chop it down. If we couldn't, we couldn't.
So you need to find someone with very long arms.
Yeah, exactly. So we just went around the site, right, we can do those. And we thought, okay, we can actually create an area here where we can build something on. But apart from the tree preservation order issue, of course, we had issues with bats, badgers, otters, because there was a stream, by the way, running next to the property. So we had otters and, it was just everything. It was another survey. We had badgers on site as well, which, obviously you can't build around that badgers. You just have to protect the set. So it was just forever going on. Oh, another survey. And what Mike taught me, he said, look, what we want to do is put such a compelling case to the council, they can't come back and say, you've forgotten to do something. And that's one thing I've learned on the planning side, that we've got to make sure all bases are covered, because the council don't have the staff to actually necessarily follow up on those things. So if they spot something's missing, they're going to say, right, no, you haven't done that, refused. So this took best part of a year to do, and we put the planning in thinking, okay, this is let's just wait for the knockback, and we'll end up going to appeal or whatever. So we only put in for one property. It's an acre site, and there was potentially a plot towards the back of the site that we could have built on. It was big enough, certainly, big enough clearing to put a house on, but we would have had to chop down too many trees, and they were too many big trees, so they're all under the preservation order. And of course, as you know, if you chop down a protected tree, you're going to get fined.
So was this a case of saying, well, what's our path of least resistance to get the planning through, comparing it to, maximising the returns for getting sort of multiple units on there, and saying, well, actually, there's plenty of profit if we get just one house on there, and it's going to be the easiest route to planning?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't one of those areas where you could build a block of flats. It just wasn't going to work there. So it was always going to be a house or houses that we could put on the plot. And I think when the application went in, it was all kind of like fingers crossed moment. But planning came back to us at the end of the usual period, 8 weeks, and actually said, can we have an extension? Now, of course, as you know, we don't need to give them an extension necessarily. They need to reach a decision. But we thought, well, let's let them, because we knew it was a problem plot. We knew that if there was going to be an issue, then if we can have some curry in our favour, that might help. And lo and behold, we got planning first time. I was just incredulous, unbelievable. I just could not believe we got this through first time. And then the decision was, do we build this? Now, I've not built a house before. I've done other kind of development-y things, but I've not actually done anything from scratch. And this was an awkward site already, but never mind the trees. It was slightly hilly, and
yeah, we're going to be looking at some photos which shows it's a kind of awkward site, isn't it? There's not natural access to it. It's set up there. So I guess you're looking at going, well, this will not necessarily be the easiest new build that I I could tackle.
No, exactly. And yeah, we spoke to a number of agents. I think the square footage of the property, just to kind of put it in perspective, was about 3,000 square foot. So it's a reasonable size property. And the way it'd been designed was that there was going to be a garden roof so that you could actually overlook the Surrey Downs from the roof. And that made it obviously quite attractive. We've obviously had some CGIs put together to make it look, this is what it's going to look like, kind of thing. I mean, one of my favourite rooms in there was a wine room we'd had built in, because Jackie and I love wine, and it was just right, we're going to have a wine room built into this house. And in the designs, whether they kept it or not, I don't know. But so then we thought, okay, this is going to be awkward. So let's just put it out to a few agents and just see what kind of figures we got coming back. And now we knew that whatever was going to be built there was going to be $1 million plus in terms of the actual GDV. In fact, I think it turned out to be about 1.2 million in the end. And we sold that plot with planning for 450,000.
So from end to end, from putting the offer in, that kind of sealed bid under auction conditions, to exiting, what was the timeline on that? How long did it take in total?
Exactly 12 months.
12 months, okay. And your profit after all your costs and paying the architect's fees and legal fees and so forth was how much on this project?
325,000.
Wow, I mean, that genuinely is a life-changing sum of money for a lot of people. And I guess, you know, fortune favors the bold, and you were willing to take a risk on this, but it was very much a calculated risk. And I've sort of made some notes as you've been talking. So obviously putting the offer in, subject to undertaking some more due diligence and more investigations on it, understanding that even if you couldn't get planning now, there was still an inherent value in the land to hold it, and it would only go up in value. So it sounds like you were mitigating your risks at each stage of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the whole intention. Was as I said, we didn't want to tie up that money for too long. Hence why we brought the partners in. So whilst overall 325,000 is a great sum of money, of course that wasn't our share of it. It was just a proportion of that. But still, our return on investment was well over 100%. So in 12 months, which is difficult to get in any market.
Yeah, well, and I'm guessing the amount of time that you had to spend on it, it would have been fairly intensive in terms of the, I guess the sort of brain power going into it and the energy to get through all these surveys and think out the build and so forth. But you're not working on site. It's not it's not a 50-hour-a-week job to end up there.
No, it was what was really important was the team, really. And particularly Mike, our architect, who I still work with today. We've now got a different arrangement with him where he will come in with us on projects because he's seen what the kind of things that we find and we do. But yeah, the team was really, really important in any kind of building type of scenario, development scenario. It's the team that's more important than you. If you can put the deal together, which is what we're reasonably good at, then it's really the other people who will do a lot of the work for you. Obviously, you've got to control it. And then clearly control the expenditure, because it can start to creep up even on just a relatively small project like this. When the survey fees that kept coming back, got another one and another one and another, and of course the traffic survey, and just like on and on and on. It just went on and on.
And particularly if had you chosen to build it out yourself, controlling those costs can be very, very difficult to do. We all think that there's an amount that the contract represents, that's going to be the cost of building it, but the truth is quite often a little different from that as we hit some unknowns along the way. So I love this deal. I love the fact that it was creative. I love the fact that actually you just came across this on Rightmove. It was sat there. Anybody could have seen it, but you recognize it as an opportunity. And I think another great tip there in terms of using the commercial side of Rightmove, which some people watching this may be less familiar with, used to sort of browsing pages and pages of houses and flats available, but less au fait with looking at development opportunities and land and commercial buildings that might be right for conversion as well. So some amazing tips in there. I know we're just doing a very short snapshot of this one today. So if people are interested in finding out more about you and this deal and just learning what you do and how you might be able to support them going forward, where's the best place for us to direct them? Would that be to the website?
Yeah, you can certainly go to the website. You'll find me on social media as well. All forms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Clubhouse. Yeah, I'm there all the time. So
Mark's on all of it. Yeah. So, okay, fantastic. And if you are looking to take your first or next step in property, then by all means go to yourpropertynetwork.co.uk and you can get your first copy of YPN completely free of charge. And there's some other useful bits and pieces on there as well. So Mark, it's been a pleasure talking to you today through this deal. I know we're going to talk through many more as well in the future. So thank you for your time. And I'm sure that anybody watching it's really inspiring to see just what can be achieved just from one project and spotting one bit of scrubland on Rightmove, with a small picture on that. So thank you for your time today.
No, you're welcome.